The following audio recording has been designed for learning purposes only. Do not share, distribute, or provide any type of copies, or this audio lesson will not be made available to you. Good luck with today's lesson.
We're still alive. It's a good day. The sun is shining. All right, so what I want to do, hopefully, first and foremost, beyond the sun is shining, which is a nice thing, thank goodness. Did we all receive scripts from me? There should have been 5 total. Okay, no. Okay, so, oh, really? So if you didn't, check your spam. It could be that my email went into your spam for whatever inbox you have. I would check that to make sure, but I did send out an email on Friday. It was a little later than I had hoped, but I did. So what I want you guys to do is put as a reminder, Wednesday what we'll do is we'll vote. So if you haven't already had a chance to read all 5 of them, please do. And please get not just skim through them, right? The idea is that you're going to be working on this project, and so you want to make sure that you see it happening first on campus somewhere, and you see it that we can make it happen. Some of you guys had submitted scripts that were, a bit outlandish. So how do we can't kill anybody on campus, or we shouldn't. So we should probably stay away from some really intense. Things like that. If there's really intensity towards the end where something happens, I know some of you had submitted a file where maybe there was a gun, right? Again, it's going to be a no all day long. Even if we bring in a toy gun, it's going to be an issue. With just the state of our life at the moment, we need to find some other ways to switch it up. Yes, Aaron.
What if we just try to work around it, like shooting it without showing the gun?
Yeah, so that's an option, right? So that has to be in consideration. So if we have to think about what ways can we, there's a lot of things we can do without showing it directly and deliberately. So there's ways we can work around things.
What if we use like a different type of object, like something so felonious that it wouldn't even be associated with a gun?
Like what?
A banana.
I mean, you could hurt somebody with a banana if it's.
Squirt gun.
It's a yellow banana. No, I mean, it could work. I mean, it might be silly, but if you really want it to be taken seriously and it's a dramatic drama written for drama, throwing a banana in there at the end might throw it all off, and it might maybe people won't take you seriously if. Well, if you want to go that route, it could work. I mean, no, but as long as everyone's on board. So Wednesday. So as a reminder, if you haven't read them, read them and have an idea. I would already pre-program kind of what your top pick would be, because I'm going to have you guys give me, probably first and second best of what you'd like to actually produce, and then we'll break everybody up into groups, and then we'll start that pre-production process come Wednesday. So God bless you. Gesundheit. So for today, what I wanted to do is show you guys a couple things in Avid, and hopefully. We'll see. It's a Monday. We'll see how Avid is behaving today, and we'll go from there. Remember that we all were able to log into the server. So if you haven't already logged into your server, I'm just going to put it here. Make sure you go up to Go Connect to Server or Command K, and then look for your number. If you need your number again, I can give that to you, but then your number will appear on the desktop. You'll have 3 little people, and then you can dig into your Avid. Launch Avid. Find your program. For many of you, I'm going to try to do this here. If you're working on something now, many of you have already started, I would save, because I'm going to try to take over your machines in a moment, but I have to dig something in here, change something. Uh-oh, somebody's angry over there. Okay. Okay, let me see if this works. Ooh, we'll see what happens. Everybody saved up? Let's see if this works. Okay, somebody's might not be on. So maybe, do you guys see what I see? Do you see what I see? Not yet. It'll be a moment.
Now I do.
In a second. It worked before. There's a slight delay. Maybe I gotta wiggle my mouse a bit. Or you just have, yeah? Wow, it's magic. Okay, I'm a magician. So if you log into Avid, now this is, I'm showing you guys my screen so you guys can see it from here. please take notes. I'm going to dig in a few things that I want you guys to pay attention to, and I'm hopefully forcing you to do so. So if you open up Avid and it looks wonky, right, you'll have to move some things around. Let me move this over here. First thing you want to do, if you don't see all the windows that you're used to thus far, make sure that you go up to the window menu. And again, when you hear the word menu in any program, Avid included, you're looking at the top level, all the way at the tippy top.
Okay.
So when you hear the word menu, look all the way top. File menu, window menu, that tells you, look up at the top. So window menu, workspaces, and then if you're not in source record editing, you can go to it, and it's going to shift. We'll see if this likes it. Oh boy. Maybe. And it does nothing, which is great. Fantastic news. It might be because I'm trying to force too many things happening at once. All right, that did something. Let's try again. Source record. Wow, it really just doesn't like it, you guys. Source record will work, right? And if I'm there, my checkbox just doesn't want to get there for some reason. But if you go to source record editing and then dig into restore current to default, it'll give you a little pop-up box that'll say, it'll be a big question mark, and it'll say, are you sure you want to do this? You can hit OK, and then it'll reset your windows. Some of you, Premiere does this the same. Some of you started your sequence, and then you just closed out the timeline. So, minimize this. The timeline's gone, and everyone said, well, where's my stuff? So your stuff actually still lives in your project panel, right? Without the project panel open, you don't have a project open. So if you dig in through to your bin, you open up your bin, and inside your bin, if I go into list view, these are all of my files, and they're linked, right? So remember, we don't want to change that order or change the linkage. Once it's created that link, it's looking for those files in that exact same spot. I'm going to dig through and find that I have my sequence right in the middle here. So if I double click on the icon, if you click on the name, it thinks you want to rename the project, which you should. So if it is untitled, when I release you and give you back your computers, make sure you're checking. So write this down, because many people don't do this. If my sequence is untitled, make sure I'm naming it. Your last name, underscore first initial, underscore the project name. And then you can just click on there and change that, okay? So in order to bring it up, I double click on it, but nothing happens. So a lot of people got confused a bit. And then we'll just move Sam over. Hey, Sam, can I have you grab another? It's okay. Thank you. So if you double click on it and nothing pops up, make sure that you can then, let's see if this works now. Maybe it will, since I closed something. Source record editing. Still no. Fantastic news. Wow. Here's that window, okay? Are you sure you want to restore? All settings will be lost. It kind of scares you, but now I can hit OK. For some reason, it won't let me go into source record editing, but you can go back in there and change it, okay? I think it's because I'm showing my screen to you guys. That's the problem. So many of you on last week were able to go through and dig in and name your files. That's what I wanted you guys to do. Double click. It loads it in the source monitor window. I've got a sneeze coming, you guys. I'm sorry. And you're going to play that clip. Many of you had 2 or 3 or more takes. So you're going to rename those clips so that they make sense to you, okay? This is going to be important when we go forward. Yes, you guys had a dialogue scene, but going forward, the scripts will be maybe multiple locations, shot out of order. So it'll be imperative that the person, or persons setting up and organizing our files are naming them so that they make sense to everyone in the group, okay? So I have my files, I have my timeline ready to go. I do want you guys to have a title, right? So you're gonna make a title, you're gonna fade that in and out. Remember to fade in and out. There's a little, it's really hard to see, but it's a little box, a little gradient box that pops up. If you pop that in, you can grab the quick transitions. It'll give you that dialog box, and from here, you can say which one you want to change. It defaults to the last thing someone used in Avid. So if the last person did something different, it'll be whatever they chose. So if you want to dissolve, which is the general one, you can grab dissolve, and you can see here on the left-hand side, it's applying to video 1, audio 1, and audio 2. Whatever's blue is selected and affected, meaning it'll apply it to those particular tracks. If it's gray, you notice I have an A3 here, but it's gray or white, depending on your eyeball sight, it's not going to affect or not going to put or place that particular transition right on that spot. So I can change it here, centered, ending, or more, and you can actually move these as well. So notice when I start to move them, you can shrink them even too. If I hover over the edge, I can shrink them and make them smaller. Once I do, it automatically changes to custom. Hold on, I think my thing beeped here. Sam? I think I turned it off. It beeped.
Oh, it should be.
I don't know, vibrated and beeped. Is it okay?
Yeah.
We're done? Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Apologies, guys. Malfunction. All right. So if you want to put that back, as soon as you make a change, it'll automatically change it to custom. If you want to put it back to centered on the cut, you can, and then you can change the size if you want. You can just hit add, and then it'll add that particular piece. And then once I play it, if I hit the space bar to play, it's going to fade into that title, okay? All right. And then you're going to want to fade into the title and fade out of the title and have all your pieces in play. I talked about how most of the files, if you use our cameras, like this one on the second one I grabbed, which I did not name, it doesn't have audio track coming out. Drake had something, he had like special headphones, and I think Khalil too maybe, or Iman, I can't remember, where it was sounding like it was coming both on left and right. Typically, when you have visually only waveforms on audio 1 and nothing on audio track 2, is giving you an indication that you might not hear sound on one of the two sides, so either the left or the right, depending on how you have your headphones turned on or put on. So to get rid of that, first, if you don't see this section panel here next to the track selector panel, it's a little arrow that opens that up and slides that open for you to see, okay? If you need to see your waveform, you need to turn those on. They're not on by default, so turn those suckers on. Again, if it's blue, it's selected. To get rid of this guy, if I hold down the Option key on the keyboard, and I'm in one of my selection tools here, I can grab that one and delete it, okay? If you are a happy deleter, or a quick, triple click, you'll end up deleting, and it might bring up a little pop-up that says, do you want to delete the track? Just slow down, because if you delete too many times, that pop-up will come up, and if you hit OK, it'll delete that track. But no, you can always Command-Z, undo, and get that track back, okay? So if I'm here again, Option click, I can hold down the 3 modifiers, Command Option Shift, and then I can drag a copy of that waveform, okay? Some of you, I wanted you guys to have a listen, so I'll just refresh that with the audio. If they're talking too loudly, if they're talking too quietly, you need to adjust. So how do we do that? A couple ways. First, we need to see the volume level. So in this track selector panel in the center, we're going to change it so that the middle portion says volume, and then that line denotes the volume for that particular take in that case, okay? So we need to raise it and lower it. So when you have your headphones on, have a listen, but you also want to have under tools, your audio tool set up, and then you want that person speaking roughly on the left side here, -12, -10 in that window, okay? If they go all the way up and it starts to peak, these numbers up here will turn red. That's saying that that file, that person speaking, that file is distorted. So it's not really well done and not well recorded. So that should have been adjusted in the moment to bring that down a bit. So you can override. With this volume level there, if you hold the apostrophe key and on your keyboard, you can see it's a big pink, I think it's a pink or magenta triangle that pops up. That gives you the option to place a keyframe where you need to, okay? So if I hold down the apostrophe key right now, oh no, come on. Everything's working a little bit strangely, I think, but it's okay. No, it's not working for me. Oh, there it is. Okay, I just looked up and moved the wrong one. So apostrophe key will add, and they look like little black triangles. So if you click on them, they turn pink. Pink lets you know that they're selected. Then from there, you can delete them. You can move them up and down and adjust. So if we need to adjust, like let's say without hearing it, this whole middle section needs to be removed. I can grab it. Once you hover over it with your finger, or no, with your mouse, it turns into a finger. You can click on that keyframe and then move it. So if I wanted to adjust this whole section, I can bring this over. And if I want to delete it, or maybe I add another one, so I maybe put one over here. And then bring this guy down. And then I bring this one over. And then maybe another one. Okay? If we need to zoom in, we can to bring this up. Okay, so let's say someone coughed or sneezed or something in that moment, and we need to bring that out. So that's 4 keyframes. 1 to keep it steady, 1 to remove it, 1 to hold the remove, and 1 to bring it back. Okay? Once it's selected, though, you can hit delete, and it'll delete that keyframe, and you can start anew. Okay? Let me back up maybe twice. All right, so that's that. Okay, the next thing. Let me see if this will happy for this. Let me restore. So I'm going to go to Window, Workspaces, and Color Correction. So this looks like and behaves very much like the 3-way color corrector in Final Cut Pro. Before they had Lumetri, but they still have the 3-way color corrector. Final Cut Pro also has 3-way, I think they call it the exact same, 3-way color corrector. It's like global. It's everyone has the same idea. Here's how it works. So let me set this up. The minute you're in this workspace, see if I can squish this a bit. Okay. It behaves kind of, and I don't know if you can see it, but it's shadows on the left, midtones in the middle, and highlights on the right. So we'll get to that in a second, but your whole composer window at the top turns into something completely different. So instead of seeing 2 windows like we're used to, source monitor, right, which is where you preview and review all your files, and then the program monitor where you start building your sequence, now when we're in color corrector, we see 3 windows. The middle window is where we're currently set up. So, sorry, I don't have anything set up here. I grabbed somebody else's file here. So it's right where your playhead lives, okay? So I'm going to put my playhead right about here, and I'm happy with that, okay? The next 2 can be empty, like you can see, or they can show you the previous clip or the next clip. Because typically what you want to do, right, is have all your pieces in play, have all your video files there, check all your audio, and then do color correcting after all your pieces are in play. So you could do sort of one file, the next file, and so forth. So I'm on this one. Here's what I want to do. Instead of leaving this empty, I'm going to click on this left-hand side, and I'm going to change it to Y waveform. Okay? When I do that, I'm going to close this window just a bit. When I do that, it brings up the waveform for right where I'm parked on the clip. And here's how it reads. And this just reads no color information, just light and dark, okay, on the Y waveform. So maybe you want to write this down, Y waveform, because you won't remember. Because you'll have to get into it. So what this value, and it's hard to see, I know, but at the very tippy top, it's the white value, and the very bottom is the black value, okay? And there's some numbers there that I don't know if you can see on your screen so far. But 16 is video black. So the very last line towards the very bottom is your video black. The tippy top, and you might be able to see it better when you're on, wow, it was so small. When we are on the left-hand side, or the top portion, the white is actually 235. Okay, that's the numbers, and you'll be able to see them a little bit better. So ideally, when we read this Y waveform, we're looking at values, and it's showing us values left to right, what we see. So you can kind of make out what is what. You can kind of see that this left-hand side is the trees, or the tree, or some pine trees happening here. And then we start seeing the building, and then a little bit more. We see this whole big midsection is probably this whole big midsection of concrete for S building, okay? So that's how it reads, okay? And it's giving you information light and dark. So what you want to do is find out what should be black in my image and what should be white, okay? So this is a tough one, but we'll see. And it might be easier, many of you have people, so it might be easier if they have a black shirt or there's really some dark shadows. You can click on that and find out. So let me show you. So in this panel here in the middle, you got a couple things. HSL, hue, saturation, and luminance, and curves. So you can, curves are the same as curves in Photoshop and so many programs. but we're going to do and stay in hue and saturation and luminance. And then this has some extra sections right here. We have controls that we'll touch on in a little bit, but then hue offsets is where we'll stay for a moment. If we kind of move past the circles for now, and we go into this middle section, we have gain, gamma, and setup. Our setup is our blacks, okay? And then the gain are all of our whites. So what we want to do is move this slider so that we have some information appearing at video black. Right now when we see it, we don't see any information. There's no real information at 16. Would you agree? I know it's hard for you to see, but anybody? Crickets? Maybe? Let me move this over, okay? So when I move this over, I'm going to let go. Here's what's weird about the waveform. It won't adjust until you let go. Okay, so notice I let go, and now you see there's a ton of information underneath 16. And now, does our image look better?
A little bit.
What? Come on.
Well, the sky's fuller and the,
Oh, I know.
the shades are a bit a little dark. We could
Too dark.
lighten those up.
A little too dark. And it might be hard for you to see, but yeah, it's too dark. We've lost really the quality of the building.
It looks pretty good here on
Yeah.
on the monitor.
Yeah, it's just too dark. We've lost a lot of quality, and it's telling you in the waveform too. So visually, so anytime you're doing color correction, it's a dance. It's a dance of what you see and what you want to make better, okay? So I've done it too much. I've overcorrected. So I'm going to back up a bit so I can get some information on video black and then some not. Here's something that they won't tell you, and it's nowhere in it. So another thing to write down. When you're in the color correction, if you hold the shift key down as you move the slider, the shift key will let you go in smaller increments. Shift key. So you'll notice right away that you move pretty big increments and you do really big, broad adjustments. Instead, if I hold the shift key, I can go to 1/10 at a time. And I'm moving this up just a bit, so I want a little bit of information at video black, but not a ton. Come on. I'm going this way, come on. Dancing. We're dancing without music here, people. Okay, so I'm going to do some small adjustments. Now I'm going to go to the gain and there is some information. We've got some white here in the clouds, and there is some here. Let me just play with it to see what happens when I bring the gain up. I brighten this up, and all of a sudden we see a lot more information. It was probably a sunny day. Yes, Aaron?
Are there like matte layers available in this program? Like you could have like one color correction layer, like, and you could darken the sky a bit, then you can just cut it off right there, and then you can have another one where you darken the tree or the building and lighten that up.
Yes, but it's video, so you have to do it frame by frame.
Yes, of course.
So you'd have to change it frame by frame. Yeah, you could do it.
Well, not exactly frame by frame. Like if there's a move, if there's like slight movement, you could have it. You could have there's a setting where you could just have it go from place to place and just fix some in betweens as you go.
You could. Now you could. It just takes a little bit of time.
Of course.
So shift dragging will let you do smaller increments. The gamma then becomes your mid-range values. Okay. So as we move things through, what do we want to do? Do we want to see more of the building or more of the sky? Right.
Looks good.
Right. What is it? What's important to the story? That we're located in S building. Then maybe we want to bring these two in between a bit and bump up the midtone values a little bit more. Okay. Of course, underneath this whole section, you have your auto buttons, okay, which, some people love them, some people love to hate them. But you have your auto white, auto black. You can tell Avid, or Avid can tell you what it thinks should be. But don't use those. They're there. If you want to see what it would do, sure, right? But you override. You use your eyes and tell me what you want to do instead of letting Avid do it for you. But they're there for you if you needed to, okay? Another thing, in the current monitor here, there's a little button right underneath. It looks like a little book. If you click on that, it shows you before and after what you change. It's called dual split. If you click on that, so here's where it was, and it's very minimal. In fact, maybe I'll do it intensely. So you can see where we started and what we've changed. So you want to use that dual split to make sure that the changes you're doing are making it better, right? And if not, fix it. So let's say you get in this color corrector and you start getting crazy, pushing all sorts of buttons here and there, and you get lost. You don't know if it's better or not, and you know for sure that it's not any better than when you started. You can start fresh, and here's how you do that. Right when you get into color corrector mode, it puts this little color bar effect right on your clip. If you have your playhead right on top of that clip, then you can remove that effect, and then it'll remove that particular color correction. So I'm going to hit remove effect right here. Looks like a stop sign, and then it's gone, and I can start fresh. Okay, so you can do that. I'm going to put something back here for a second just to see some information here. Too much? Okay. Get up here. All right. So you can, and this can be, you can actually pull these two, so you can actually have it go full screen and then just click it on and off to see before and after of what you've done, if you've done something better. Right there, it already looks, the colors look more rich. The blues are blue, the greens are greener, right? And you, just everybody knows a little bit of tweaking can go a long way in all of your clips. Okay, so that's light and dark. Most of us have shots with people in them, right? And this is the next thing. So once you identify what's white is white and what's black is black, and you're making that change, the next thing you want to do is go to the RGB parade. So that's another thing you want to write down. So I'm using it on the right-hand side so we can see it all together. RGB parade lets you remove color casts that you see in your image. So let's say many of you went to S building and you had sort of different lights, light coming in, mixed lighting situations. So you had light coming in from the outside windows that were blue, and then the overhead lights from whatever's in there, yellow. Okay, so you had some mixed color temperature light. If you had that going on, you may definitely, even if you white balance, you may find this very useful. If you know it's too blue or too red or yellow, if it's pulling to any one color, it'll show you that in the RGB parade. You can kind of see it does the same thing. It shows you your image wherever your playhead is parked on, left to right. It shows you the entire image. So we're seeing the S building left to right in that same, all the red values, all the green values, and all the blue. So if we had something really intense, let's say I'm here in the blue, let's say my shadows, and it works the same way, although you probably can't see it. There's 16 at the very bottom, so that's video black, and 235 video white. So ideally you want all red, green, and blue to look the same and have the same amount of information for each channel. If they don't, then you can go in and change it. So I'm going to actually go in my shadows. No, let's go to the highlights. If you know it's pulling to blue, for example, if you pull it opposite the color that you know it is, it'll remove some of that blue. So I'm going to, on the highlight here, here's my blue, and you can kind of see the color wheel is there. You have red, magenta, cyan, yellow. I'm going to grab that slider, little triangle, and move it away. And now, do you see, I don't know if you can see it, but in this image, you can see I've warmed it up. Yeah, Aaron.
Can you turn on the do all thing again so we can see?
Is it gone? What do you mean?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, good call. So there it is before, and there it is after. So I've warmed it up a little bit, right? It is a sunny day, so we warmed it up just by pulling away from blue and adding some more yellow to that image. I've warmed it up a bit more, but maybe it's a dark story. God bless you. It's a dialogue of, planning of murder. I don't know. Maybe you don't want to start so sunny and shiny and bright. Maybe you want sort of that ominous, right? So what if we grabbed that and brought that back down? Look how now it looks like we haven't white balanced, right? We've gotten a lot more blue in there, and we can see what we've done, okay? So you can play with those, just to where that triangle is. Typically, you want to go opposite what it's color casting, but if you want to warm things up, you can. And then they do them the same way. So shadows, if we notice right away now, you can see I have a lot less information in the middle section here. If I turn this off, look how much blue I've got all the way at the bottom, middle, and sort of blacks. And in the highlight section, I'm losing some information. So we can bring that back or play with it a bit more, but you can kind of manipulate. And as soon as you start to manipulate, notice it puts the effect right on your file, and then you either live with it or delete it and start fresh, okay? Lastly, okay, the vector scope. So I'm going to change the RGB parade to vector scope. In vector scope, if you're dealing with someone's face, so many of you had, over the shoulders, medium close-up, and so forth. So this is going to be a hard representation. But this is also the color wheel. And what you want is that the innermost portion should be there should be a little line. And I don't know if you can see it on mine. Let's see if it's there. If you head through in between right here, that's where the natural color skin tone, flesh tone line is. So ideally, if you have an individual, you want this bit of information heading that way, okay? So if your person maybe looks washed out or they look like they need a little love, you can add some adjustments in probably the mid-tone values so that it's pulling towards that skin tone line. So it's hard to see because let me see if I can grab this one. See, I don't have do I have a close-up of you guys? Maybe. Okay, here's perfect. So here's Aaron, and look at where that skin tone, it's actually going towards that skin tone line. So he looks, and he's been recorded accurately on camera. He's heading that way. If he wasn't, I can move some things so that it was, right? So if I change it now, now watch how that whole blurb moved, and now we look very blue. Now he looks like maybe, maybe it's not so great. I wonder who's back there.
We're the Blue Man Group.
Yeah. Okay, what else? Okay, another couple things I want to show you. So if you are here, you know how to remove them, you know how to add titles, you know how to add dissolves and quick transitions. At the very bottom of your timeline here, there's a little yellow-green blurb, okay? This changes the quality of your visual. So just like you can change it half, quarter, you can do the same. So if you click here, it goes into all green, which is 1:1. So it's showing you actual value. If you click again, it goes to 10-bit. Yellow is 16th of your file. And then this is a quarter, okay? So if you notice your file sort of chugging along and having some trouble, check to see what the quality is. Maybe someone changed it inadvertently, and you can bring it down so that you can see it pretty clearly. The last thing is this little video monitor. I already talked to a few people. It's so easy to turn this sucker off, okay? People just turn it off, and the minute you turn it off, it doesn't show you anything that the playhead is above, okay? So you're essentially just turning off your monitor, so it won't show you anymore. So people get spooked, and they say, oh, where'd my stuff go? It's there, just turn your monitor back on. And the same thing goes for if we go to, let's see if this will work this time. No? Still no? I'm asking for it. The same thing goes for if you have your source monitor. I can't get it back now, but if you have your source monitor, this monitor on the left is for everything that's loaded on your source on the left-hand side, okay? So I want you guys to put titles in today. Title for your beginning of the project, group chat, fade it in, fade it out, and then a title at the end. The title at the end should be your first and last name, the class name, which is MACA 1420, the days and times of our class, which is Monday, Wednesday, 2 to 5, right? And then our semester year and our semester and year. So we're fall 2018. So we want to write this down. Let's write this down. Are we ready? First and last name. And then our class name, which is MACA 1420. Then the times of our class, Monday, Wednesday, 2 to 5. And then our semester, which is fall, and then the year, 2018. I'll show you one last thing, and then I'll leave you guys to editing. But I want you guys to write this down as we go through. What's that? Yes, first and last name. The class name, which is MACA 1420. Then the class time, which is Monday, Wednesday, 2 to 5. And then the semester, which is fall, and the year 2018. Oh no, he's sleepy. Did it give it back to you guys already? That's weird. I didn't do anything to it. Okay, I want to show you guys one thing before you go back. Hang tight. Go
Would
ahead.
you like fall to be
FA
top
is
thing, or-
fine.
Okay.
Yeah, FA is fine.
Would you like to? Or would you like this to be on top, or this? Which
MACA 14. Yeah, switch them.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Put a little arrow there to swap them. Okay, one last thing, guys, before you go. I gave you guys a little sheet of paper. I wanted you guys to, once you are done putting all your pieces together, color correcting, adding your titles, fading them in, fading them out, then you're going to export your file. Corey had some problems. Let's hope we don't have a problem this time. I know. Let's hope. Let's hope it's a Monday without problems. I gave you guys the sheet because I want you guys to write this down. So you'll go up to File Menu, and then Output. So this is something that's not written on your sheet, so you'll have to write it down. File Menu, Output, and then Export to File. Sorry, I thought I was still streaming with you guys, or sharing, but apparently it gave you back control. All right, File, Output, Export to File. And then when it does this, mine's going to look a little different because I don't have a number, but you want to make sure it has your last name, underscore your first initial, underscore the project name, which it should. But if it doesn't, you can change it here. And then you want to make sure it's going to your student number. So how do we do that? If we hit this little arrow here, it opens up the entire Finder window. From here, I can look through right here. See where it says shared? That's the server that we're accessing, okay? So if you click on that server, sorry, I wish I could still share with you guys because I think it would be easier for you to see it, but if you click on that server, then it'll bring you up the number that you've logged into. In a moment, we just have to wait for it. You can dig in there. I think I have, what do I have open? I'll just put it in here first for now. You can dig in there to your number, and then here's the big thing. We want to say export setting, because this changes. Export setting, you want to change it so that it says send to QuickTime Movie. And the images that you'll see that I gave you in the sheet will be next, okay? Send to QuickTime Movie, make sure it's named right. Let me know if I'm moving too fast for anyone. Sure. And then, so here's what people will do on accident. They get all this far, right? However many steps we've had, File Menu, Output, Export to File. You get here, you tell it where you want to go and where it wants to live on the server, on your student number. You make sure the export setting is send to QuickTime Movie, which let me show you, there's several to choose from. So make sure you grab send to QuickTime Movie. And then people will just hit save. Don't do that. Hit options because we want more. We want more. So when I'll go back, hit cancel. When you find your spot and hit options right underneath the export settings, it brings you to the window and all the pages that I just gave you. There's more buttons to pick from here. So I have it written down, but I want you guys to write it down in the next couple sheets. So export as should be QuickTime Movie at the very top. And you want to do a couple of checks here. You want to include, all of your pieces here, and then right where it says Format Options. So I just gave you a sheet, Aaron. I think the sheet has it right on there.
Yep, just want to make a picture, just be safe.
Oh yeah. So we're gonna click on Format Options, and when you do, you'll see that in a second. This window pops up. So the image I gave you will pop up all of the pieces. So in here, I want you to write, for the settings, I want you to write H.264. So you want to dig in, that's a compression setting. It's a good compression setting to have. So right here where it says compressor type, we want to also type in H.264. And then we can leave it, it usually defaults to best quality, so we're good there. But this will kind of give you guys the steps that you can dig in through.
What did you say after format options?
Let's see, let me back up. So let me cancel here. So let me cancel this whole thing so we can start fresh. So I went to File. File menu, output, export to file. Yeah? And then I'm making sure it's named right, making sure I put it in the right spot. So I'm going to dig into my server here in a second. It'll pop up. Come on, come on. There it is. Thank you. I'm waiting for my number. Waiting, waiting. I'm going to just put it here for now. Send a QuickTime Movie and then options underneath. And then that's where you get this box. That's one of the first images that I gave you in the sheet that I just handed out. You want to make sure export to QuickTime Movie. And then format options right in the center here, Khalil. I think that's what you're talking about. Right here. And then it brings up another window. It's like boxes upon boxes upon boxes. In here, under video, you want to select your settings and change the compression type to H.264. Okay. So that's the second, maybe the third window I gave you. So you can just write it down, H.264, or throw your pen around, Nick. No, I'm just joking. So yeah, you already got it, cool. And then lastly, my button, my screenshot didn't include this one portion, so I want to make sure we have that going. So H.264, you can leave everything at default here. High is fine, best encoding is fine as well. We can hit OK, and then you want to check sound, which my image does not have. So put a little check there. And then it defaults to 44.1. Let's change it so that it says, so all I did was click on the settings here under sound, and then I want to change it to 48. Okay? 48 kilohertz. So I'll back up. I know there's a lot of little bitty steps. What's that?
Is that on?
No, I didn't have that one. So under sound, it's settings right here. So you maybe just make yourself a note. Hit settings, and then another window will appear. This is just for sound, and then change it from 44.1, which I think it defaults to 48. Good. And then I'm going to hit OK, and then OK, and we're not done.
What was 48 point?
48, I think it's just 48K. Let me just go back. Format options, settings, 48 kilohertz. It's 48.000 to be exact.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And so we're going to hit OK, and we're not done. But wait, there's more. So we just did the format options, right, Khalil?
Yeah.
Right in the section, oh, don't die on me. Sweet baby. Oh, no. Dangerous.
Let it wait for a bit.
All right, the next section. I don't know why, but it defaults often to just video only. That means if you have any audio, guess what? It'll only export just the video. So change that so that your radio button says video and audio, please. So a lot of little checks you have to make sure you're there. The next thing it defaults to in a very strange way is the very next portion where it says video format. See my width and height? Can anyone see what that is? Anyone got good eyeballs? Can we tell me?
I can see.
What does it say, Aaron?
320 and 240.
Yeah, very small, right? So we were recording in 1920 by 1080, full HD, and this thing defaults to 320 by 240, okay, which is very small. So don't get surprised. So here's how you change it. And it doesn't even look like a button, but these three little lines that are right here, you click on that guy, and here's where you're going to change it to 1920 by 1080. Okay? So a lot of little things to make sure you're checking before you actually hit render and save to export, okay? So once it says 1920 by 1080, the next thing, very bottom, display aspect ratio. Again, defaults, it's like it's trying to trick you. It's trying to make you do an error, okay? So don't let it trick you. Change it so that it grabs the native dimensions of your file, which is 1920 by 1080. Mine was defaulted to 4 by 3 square pixel. You want to change it because look at the size. Square pixel is 1440 by 1080. It'll make it look strange. So make sure you're doing native dimensions. And lastly, save. Huh. And then it's just going to go back, kick you right back to this window to make sure you're putting in the right spot. And then you can go ahead and hit save and wait it out. Okay? Does anyone, I know it's a lot of steps. I'll probably do a little movie demo for it. Does anyone want me to repeat any of the steps so you can just double check?
The display aspect?
Mm-hmm. So let me cancel here. I'm gonna walk through quickly, okay? So if anyone has a question, ask me as I go. File menu, output, export to file. Brings up my window. Make sure it's named right. Your last name, underscore first initial, underscore the project name. Bring down. Look for my server. Here it comes. Click on that server. Wait for my number to appear. Dig in. Send to QuickTime Movie for export settings. Now it's there, so I don't have to dig into it, but you guys might have to look for it, okay? And you hit options. It brings in this window, format options. We're going to change the settings to H.264. Hit OK. Click on sound. Change the settings so it's 4800K, 48,000K, I should say. And then hit OK one more time. Change so that it says video and audio selected, because it might be defaulted to video only. And then change the width and height right here. Is that what you're saying? There's these three little lines that don't even look like a button right here. Change it so that it's 1920 by 1080. And then very bottom, maybe this is the one you're talking about, Khalil. Display aspect ratio, make sure it's native dimensions. Mine was defaulted to 4:3. So make sure it's native dimensions, 1920 by 1080. And then save one more time and wait it out. Okay? Before you do export though, make sure you save. Hopefully Corey was just like maybe it was just you that day. maybe it was a Corey problem. No, I'm just joking. So make sure you save it before you do this portion, because it could, if something happens, you get the wheel of death. You want to make sure at least your file was saved before you went to this option to export. Okay, I'm going to hit cancel, and I want you guys to continue working, and then just remember, read your scripts for Wednesday. Have the idea of what you want, at least first, second, third place in your mind, and then be ready to vote on it on Wednesday. And then I'll kind of float and answer questions and find out what other crazy things Avid's doing today as we go, okay? So I'm going to...
Are these export settings going to be the same for the rest of our project?
They'll be the same for future, probably, if we stay in Avid, yeah. All right. Let me get rid of this guy. All right. I'm going to play some music. All right, I'm going to open this up. Yeah. Yeah, Nick, give me 1 second. Let me give this to Sam, and then I'll be right to you. All right.
All set.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. No, it was weird. I thought I heard it. Maybe it was someone's. I don't know.
Yeah, because normally it just go dead.
Good luck with today's lesson.